What's up, Tube? Welcome back to Leguito's Chop Shop, second best Dual Blaster channel on the tubes. And today we're putting the Perun V2 MOSFET into my DSG build. Now, let me start by saying this is not a MOSFET. Sounds odd. MOSFET, metal oxide semiconductor field effect transistor. It is an electronic switching device, not a transistor. It contains many transistors, I'm sure, but it is not by itself a transistor, which is what a MOSFET is. So when people are referring to these as MOSFETs, they're technically wrong. They're actually a electronic switching device which involves MOSFETs. Thanks for letting me about that. Alright. Let's have a look in the box here. I've already opened this, so it's not really an unboxing. It's got some instructions. Well, it's actually not even instructions, it's links to instructions inside there, so maybe I'll look at them later on. Inside here you have a static proof bag with your MOSFET, your electric switching device in there, and I'm just going to call it MOSFET for the ease of everyone else who knows what I'm talking about or whatever. That is your unit there. So this is basically a standalone unit which replaces the standard mechanical switch and trolley that goes in there. And this one, I've chosen this one because it's optical. Let me just zoom in a bit. Now I've chosen to use this particular unit because it is optical, because I'm going to be using dual sector gear, which is going to be rotating quite quickly. I want to use the optical sensor because I feel mechanical sensors are just asking for failure. I know there are a lot out there that use mechanical switches and they seem to work alright, but I feel like if there's no moving parts, there's nothing that can break. That's the fact of it. The moving parts can break. No moving parts, less things to break. I like to sort of try and keep it simple, although in this case it's complex with simplicity, being that it uses a optical sensor to sense the tooth of the gear as it travels through this beam, which is just here. It'll also have some optical sensors in here, which would replace where the standard trolley would go, and it uses a bunch of optical sensors to detect the position that the trolley would be in. Anyway, moving on, let's install this thing. Alright, so she fits in right there. It's nice that it is designed to fit. It's always good. Now, of course, I'm going to have to add mag terminals to this later on, but let's have a look what else comes in the box. Alright, comes with a bag full of goodies. Oh, it comes with a cheat sheet. That's kind of cute. It also comes with a variety of stickers. Some are just for your own personal, sticking on things. Others are actually necessary, like these ones, for example. If you've got a black selector plate, which I will have, you got to stick a white sticker on it because it uses optical. On the back here there's optical sensors which sense the position of the selector plate, and it needs to be reflective to a degree, so so you got to stick a white bit on if you don't have a white selector plate. And then there's some black stickers here which are to stick to cover the holes up basically around here to stop light from leaking in. It's going to be a little bit of a pain because I do want to run the wires for the mag terminals out here, so I might find another way of minimizing the light that comes through there. I tell you what would be really nice if it came in the box. Mounting hardware would be kind of cool. Mounting hardware would be handy right about now, because there's like a screw that needs to go in here to hold this whole circuit board in there, and I don't have it. So that's a bit of a bummer. So the screw in question is an M3 screw, and fortunately I do have some kicking around. This one actually came with the MK box, so that was nice of them to include that hardware. So that is the screw that holds the box in place. I'm just going to probably look at where I'm going to run my mag terminal wires. I'll have to run them out the front here. Also I'm going to look at the mag terminal plate, because I think the plate itself is probably going to help block some of this hole in the front here off. So that shouldn't be too much of an issue. I'm just going to line that up now. And of course they've designed it to not obscure anything in the front here, so that yeah, that hole's completely unobscured, but that's okay. So I know where my wires have got to go, and I think I only need like, only going to be a couple of tiny little wires coming through here. There's not a lot of current going to the mag terminal, so yeah, I should be able to fill that up with something, maybe even some hot glue if it comes to it. Easy enough. Now that I know where it all goes, I'm going to take it back out again, and I'll solder on my mag terminal wires. Now, being that these chips don't come with mag terminal wires or a location to put them, it's worth knowing where they go. You want them to, the mag motor has to run in parallel with the main motor. So if you look at this, you've got the negative terminal for the main motor wire, and you've got the positive terminal for the main motor. Now the negative comes here onto this blob here, and the positive, albeit a slightly slimmer offshoot, ends up underneath that one just here. So that's where we've got to put our mag terminal wires. Positive to that one, negative to that one. Don't worry that this is a slimmer gauge wire than these ones. Again, these are powering the motor, the main motor, which does draw a lot of current. The mag terminals, that motor doesn't draw a whole lot of current, so it doesn't need to be as thick. If you are soldering things, to mount them in something, some sort of vise or something, so they don't move around, this makes it easier. Okay, this may be a little bit tricky to do from behind the camera. I'll give it my best. Alright, the next one's going to be kind of tricky to get to. Underneath here. Hopefully that's clear as mud. Okay. So these wires are going to go up here. Now if you're smart and you want to work out which one's the positive and which one's the negative, you could make these out of red or black or different coloured wires so that you've got some sort of idea in that sort of thing. However, I've only got black wire on me at the moment, so whatevs. One of the things that I like to do here with these MK boxes as well, the mag terminal that it comes with, the mag terminal plate, has got this little slot just in under there, and it seems like it's like a perfect little slot to run your wires through to get to the terminals there. However, they haven't created a little notch at the top here for the wires to get from it's on the other side, but from the box into that little slot. And I feel like that's something that probably should have been included, just a little slot there, because then the wires can neatly come in here and they never sort of get in the way of the receiver or anything. Like if you have a bump of wire coming out there and then popping down in there, you have this lump like that. Whereas if you I'm just going to Dremel a little slot down in there. That's what I did with the previous ones of these that I've done, and yeah, there hasn't been any problems so far that I'm aware of. So yeah, you don't have to go all the way in. It's just got to be like only as thick as the thickness of two of these wires. So I want to say that's 4 millimeters, maybe max 4 millimeters, maybe 3.5, whatever. So I'm just going to do that with the Dremel. I'll just get a little Dremel cut just in there. Alright, so I've Dremeled and somewhat melted with a soldering iron that little slot in there. I can show you now. Alright, so I can show you now what I mean. Flip it. See now. That's the way it should be, I think. Admittedly, dremeling and melting this probably isn't the neatest way. But you can see now, those wires for the mag terminals fit perfectly down in that little slot. Which also means when you slide that in, there's not going to be bulging wires poking out here. You can see there's plenty of clearance there. I don't know why they didn't do that. That's something that I would have probably built into it from the beginning. It's just, I mean, it's like that slot was already there. I don't see what the point of it would be if not for putting wires into. And then just opening it up so you can actually get the wires in there to start with would be nice. Yeah. Alright, so that's that bit. I'm going to run the wires down through these little allocated slots here. You can see there's actually built into this MK box is a little protection here for the wires that go past the motor pinion. So I'm trying to tuck the wires down behind that so that they stay down there and not get pinched or eaten by the pinion gear when it's going in, when it gets installed. So I'll just run this -1 down there. Positive is going to come down here, and the other negative for the motor is going to run down that side there like that. Now just flip the box over here, and I'm going to solder in the mag terminals into this little plate. Yeah, so I guess now what I'll do next is to run these terminals in. I always cut these terminals a bit short because I find that the little tabs stick out too much. So I'm going to cut these just with a pair of cutters. A pair here. I usually just cut them, I don't know, probably about there, just so that when they go in, they don't stick out too much. I'll do the same with this one. Alright. While I'm here, I'm also going to cut these mag terminal wires to length, because they only need to be long enough to get to the terminal and no longer. Any extra length is really unnecessary. I'm just going to cut them to the correct length, and I'm probably gonna maybe just take a little notch out of this plastic here so that when I do put these terminals in, the wire has like a little notch to go down into when it goes onto the mag terminal. So again, this can sit nice and flush. I don't know why they don't design that sort of thing. It seems weird that they've got this little slot here, which seems perfect for running wires in, and then they don't have like little reliefs for the wires to travel through. But you know, things that can be improved upon, I guess. I'll just add that in. Alright, just a tiny little bit of a clean up. Tiny little holes, and there should be enough space just for those wires to be able to slide in there like that, if you can see that, and then solder down onto the tab, and that way they'll fit nicely into any receiver that might happen to be a touch on the tight side. Alright, next I'm going to solder the terminals on and pop them down in that mag block so we can get to testing this thing, I guess. Alright, just going to solder these on, and just for the ease of me being able to reach it around the tripod, I'm going to do it sideways. So, hope that works for the camera. Alright. There we go. Two beautifully soldered terminals. Now, if what I've done is correct, I should be able to pop these guys in. Maybe with the assistance of a pair of pliers. And now, in theory, should be able to put the wire down in the slot, and the terminal should sit there nicely. And same for the next one. Set in the right place. Push the wires down into the little slot. Lovely. Tell your mum. Beautiful. Alright. That is looking sweet. Almost ready to test it. Although I will need to install a trigger, obviously. And a motor. Oh, actually one more thing that I'm going to do. One more thing. If you notice here, the Perun comes installed with an extremely long negative terminal. And at first I didn't quite understand why, but I did a little bit of reading and whatnot, and apparently that's so that you can run it over this side and have both wires come down the back, and then I can understand that in some purposes that might be required. I guess different grips have... I don't have that issue, so I'm just going to cut this and shorten it. So yeah, I'm just going to make it about that long. Let's call it that long. Make it about as long as the other one, still just slightly longer. And I'm just going to solder the terminal on there. Might as well while I'm here with the soldering iron and everything. I mean, I guess I could just tuck all the wire in and do it that way, but I don't know. I like having things to length. I don't like having excess wire shoved back into the receiver or wherever you can fit it. It's just not neat, not nice. Well, I got the terminal off. I'm just going to crimp it back on. I'm also going to solder it on because I like solder better. There's a few different camps on crimp versus solder. They both have their merits, but me personally, I'm a solder type guy. These terminals were actually originally soldered, so obviously the manufacturing company thought that soldering was a good idea too. And then I'll just get some heat shrink over the top of that. We'll be good to go. Might get you in close up for the heat shrink. Something incredibly satisfying about watching heat shrink, my opinion. Alright, looking good now that we don't have excessive length on that wire. That's all I'm going to have time for in this video, unfortunately. But hit that subscribe button so you're ready for when I'm ready for the next video. Next video I'll be adding trigger and motor and whatever's required to test this thing and program the optical. Don't forget, I still have some patches, so hit me up on the face page for those. Alright, peace out guys.